Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Beyond Wilders One. The headlines. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will act firmly against the Houthis with force, determination and sophistication. This is a day after the Iran-backed group fired a missile that injured 16 people in Tel Aviv. Syria's de facto leader, al-Sharaa, to announce defense ministry and military in days, says all weapons to come under state control. Turkey Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan says international sanctions on Damascus must be lifted as soon as possible to allow Syria to get back on its feet and refugees to return home. The leader makes the statement on his visit to the Syrian capital. President Vladimir Putin vows more destruction on Ukraine after drone attack on Russia's Kazan. A high-rise has been smashed in the attack around 1,000 kilometers from the front line. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi concludes his historic two-day Kuwait visit. In a special gesture, the Prime Minister of Kuwait sees him off at the airport as he leaves for New Delhi. Crowds gather in central Belgrade to protest against Serbia's government. A wave of demonstrations have been taking place regularly since a deadly disaster at a railway station last month. And Pakistan Cricket Board confirms UAE as the neutral venue for India-Pakistan matches in the Champions Trophy 2025 tournament. Moscow can use illegal immigration and other issues to undermine the European Union. This is according to Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Meloni was addressing a meeting hosted by Finland in its northern Lapland region, where leaders of Italy, Sweden and Greece, as well as the EU Foreign Affairs Chief, discussed the security in the Nordic and the Mediterranean, as well as migration challenges in southern Europe. Asked about Russia, Meloni told a press conference that the threat of immigration is much wider than emergent.
Tackling the issue of illegal immigration solely as a solidarity-based debate was a mistake, in my opinion, as this matter is precisely a matter about security. The result is that we have been unable to defend our external borders, and we have put our internal freedom of movement at risk, and hostile players have begun using immigration as a tool for coercion or extortion. And today we are committed to change course. We want to defend our external borders, and we won't allow neither Russia or the criminal organization to undermine our security.
Some EU members, including Finland and Estonia, have accused Russia of allowing illegal migrants from the Middle East and elsewhere to enter EU states via Russia without proper checks, undermining the EU security. Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo said securing his country's 1,340-kilometer border with Russia was an existential question for Finland and for other EU members and NATO allies.
A far-right protest was held on Saturday night in the German city of Magdeburg, following Friday evening's attack on a Christmas market which left 5 people dead and hundreds injured. Police estimate around 1,000 demonstrators gathered in the city's central square, calling for stronger controls on migration after German authorities identified the attacker as a doctor from Saudi Arabia. Local media reported some minor scuffles with police.
China has issued a stern warning to the U.S. on what it calls promoting a China threat narrative by aiming or arming Taiwan with military aid. The comments come in the wake of U.S. President Joe Biden's approval of a $571 million defense aid package for Taiwan. The package that covers defense materials, services and military training follows a similar authorization by Biden in late September for $567 million. Criticizing the aid, a Chinese foreign ministry statement warned the U.S. to not play with fire. Beijing has urged Washington to halt arms sales to the island nation and handle Taiwan issue with utmost caution. It further says these dangerous moves undermine peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait, besides infringing on its sovereignty and security interests. The United States does not officially recognize Taiwan diplomatically, but it is the self-ruled island's strategic ally and largest supplier of weapons. Taiwan has received 38 advanced Abrams battle tanks from the U.S. this week, its first new tanks in 30 years. The developments come even as China ramped up political and military pressure on Taiwan in recent years. Beijing has repeatedly called for Washington to stop sending arms and assistance to the island that it claims as part of its territory. Upset over allegations of human rights violations in its Xinjiang region, China has sanctioned 2 Canadian institutions and 20 individuals over issues related to Uyghurs and Tibet. The measures that took effect on Saturday included freezing of assets and a ban on entry of citizens. The Chinese Foreign Ministry announced on its website that the targets include Canada's Uyghur Rights Advocacy Project and the Canada-Tibet Committee. Uyghurs are a predominantly Turkic-speaking ethnic group primarily in China's northwestern region of Xinjiang. On Tibet, international human rights groups and exiles have routinely condemned what they call China's oppressive rule in Tibetan areas. China said it is freezing assets of 15 people in the Uyghur Institution and 5 of the Tibet Committee. The assets include movable property, immovable property, and other types of property. It has also banned them from entering China, including Hong Kong and Macau. Early this month, Canadian Foreign Minister expressed deep concerns over human rights violations in Xinjiang and Tibet. The minister called on the Chinese government to end what she called a systematic campaign of repression. In September 2021, Canada announced new measures to address human rights abuses in Xinjiang by blocking goods produced with forced labor from Canadian and global supply chains. Let's move on now. The Kerch Strait oil spill has become a major environmental disaster following the damage of 2 Russian oil tankers during a storm that led to the leak of 3,700 tons of fuel into the Black Sea. The 2 Russian tankers were transporting approximately 9,200 tons of mazut, a heavy fuel oil primarily used for power generation, and they encountered severe weather conditions. Reports indicate that around 3,700 tons of oil leaked into the Black Sea, threatening the local ecosystem and prompting major environmental concerns. Even as Russian authorities have initiated rescue and cleanup operations with tugboats and helicopters, environmental groups like Greenpeace have stressed the situation could worsen due to challenging weather conditions hampering containment efforts.
It was only when we arrived here that we understood how serious is the scale of damage. We are now removing the top layer, but there are a lot of small oil flecks. How to remove them later is unclear. I do not imagine it is possible yet.
The spill has so far affected over 60 kilometers of coastline, with reports stating that wildlife and shorelines have been affected. President Vladimir Putin has called it an ecological disaster.
Hello there, Kaidi. Such a disturbing story. The police commissioner was using the words, "This is a depraved act." The transit chief called it a heinous crime. The head of security for the MTA said it was just a brutal and senseless homicide. But everyone was thanking the public for their help and the cameras inside the subway cars that led to the arrest of the person they believe responsible for the woman's death after she was set on fire. Police say it happened at about 7:30 this morning on the F train at the Coney Island Stillwell Avenue exit. Police say the woman was set on fire by a fellow passenger using his lighter. And police believe he then sat and watched the woman on fire. He sat on the platform, on a bench on the platform at the time, watching the woman slowly die. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. Police, because of the cameras inside the subway cars and on the platforms, they were able to release still pictures of the suspect very quickly after it happened. And it was 3 teenaged boys, high school age boys, who saw someone who looked just like the suspect still riding on the F train. They were able to call 911, and that led to the arrest of the person now in police custody.
One of the most depraved crimes one person could possibly commit against another human being. And it took the life of an innocent New Yorker. But at this hour, I am pleased to announce that a short time ago, alert NYPD transit officers took a person of interest into custody.
Great work that the public does alongside our offices. A 911 call was received that this individual was recognized at the J and York Street station on the F line. Our officers in District 2 stopped that train at Herald Square and was able to keep the doors closed, walk the train, and place this very dangerous individual in custody.
And police have not released very many details of the person they're questioning right now because he has not been charged with any crime just yet, but they say he is a 33-year-old man who lived in a homeless shelter either in Brooklyn or Queens, and he came to this country from Guatemala in 2018. Police also have not released the name of the woman who died in the flames on that subway car. They're still waiting to notify her next of kin. We are live in Lower Manhattan outside of One Police Plaza. McGee Hickey, Pix 11 News. Back to you, Kaidi.
Awful, just awful.
Tabi o daha sonraki araştırmalarda ortaya çıkıyor. Şu anda da yoğun sis var. Bugün sabah 10.06 sularında Eğitim Araştırma Hastanemizin Menteşe ilçemiz Kötekli Mahallesi'nde bulunan Muğla Eğitim Araştırma Hastanemizin pistinde önünden kalkan Sağlık Bakanlığı'na ait bir ambulans helikopter kalkış esnasında Eğitim Araştırma Hastanemizin 4. katına çarparak düşüyor ve içinde bulunan 2 pilot, bir hekim ve bir personelimiz vefat ediyor. Yoğun sis var. Sebebi araştırılıyor.
Tamam hadi al milleti gel ya. Kaç tane alırsan al gel.
Bir pilot 3 minütte balondaki kalabalık yalnız etsiniz. Evet.
Oğlum hastaneye yukarı. Hastane.
你不要拉着男生好不好？那位放掉，放开男生。进来了，进来了啊！明天不是来了，明天会判议题，我们现场的委员呢，看过我们喽。黄店员，小心啊！是谁？哇，明天明天。你要在主席台里趴着上岸，林主任在主席台帮人家上岸了。我们俩已经攻击立场了，现在我们开始派出主席台了。哦，还这个谁？小心人那都是椅子哎，塞在里面会死掉哦。
没关系，我还是听不到你说的国民党委员加油，谢谢，谢谢，给我们国民党的委员加油。
So this historic visit by the Prime Minister is expected to open a new chapter in India-Kuwait bilateral relations. It will not only consolidate the partnership in existing spheres, but also unveil new avenues for future cooperation, reinforce our shared values, and build a stronger and more dynamic partnership for the future. It is also expected to boost the ties between India and the Gulf Cooperation Council.
And no, he's not taking the presidency. I like having smart people. You know, they're on a new kick. Russia, 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 Ukraine, 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 all the different hoaxes. And the new one is, President Trump has ceded the presidency to Elon Musk. No, no, that's not happening. But Elon's done an amazing job. Isn't it nice to have smart people that we can rely on? Right? Don't we want that? He's done a great job. We're being ripped off at the Panama Canal like we're being ripped off everywhere else.
President-elect Donald Trump said on Sunday that the U.S. could reassert control over the Panama Canal, accusing Panama of charging excessive rates to use the Central American Passage.
The principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America in full, quickly, and without question.
Trump made the comments at America Fest, an annual event organized by Turning Point, an allied conservative group. They came hours after he leveled a similar threat against Panama in a Saturday night post on Truth Social. Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino reaffirmed the country's sovereignty over the canal in a recorded statement on X, adding that Panama's sovereignty and independence are non-negotiable. The U.S. largely built the canal and administered territory surrounding it for decades. Accords were signed in 1977 that paved the way for the canal's return to full Panamanian control. The U.S. handed over control in 1999. The waterway accounts for 2.5% of global seaborne trade and is critical to U.S. imports of autos and commercial goods by container ships from Asia, and for U.S. exports of commodities, including liquefied natural gas. Trump also warned that he would not let the canal fall into, quote, the wrong hands.
It was solely for Panama to manage and not for China or any other country to manage. You see what's going on there?
China does not control or administer the canal, but a subsidiary of Hong Kong-based CK Hutchison Holdings has long managed two ports located on the Caribbean and Pacific entrances to the waterway. It is not clear how Trump would seek to regain control over the canal. His comments underline an expected shift in U.S. diplomacy under Trump, who has not historically shied away from threatening allies and using bellicose rhetoric when dealing with counterparts. They are also an exceedingly rare example of a U.S. leader saying he could push a sovereign country to hand over territory.